for the browser to connect when I actually start this stream. Yeah, it starts automatically, I think.
Fair.
So let's check. In fact, I think it's just trying to encourage me to just, I don't know, use the schedule stream function.
Whatever.
It should be up anyways. I mean, it looks like it. I am going to check my audio.
Alex Shim might be joining us, so just a heads up.
Okay, I think I'm a bit loud. Oh, Alex Shim? Alright.
Yeah, if he wants to. I invited him on, so I said around 9, so if he's here, I'll just message him now and say we're starting just in case. Because he wanted to join in because he wanted to actually talk about this with some of us. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
He was bringing in
sure.
some pretty good points in the chat.
True. So we'll have him on like a man. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I could still hear you. I just want to adjust phone because I'm also my audio on the phone because I think my audio levels last stream was pretty high. Just so it's above the nasal level of me.
What the frick is with this? Sorry, I'm having a weird thing with Discord on my end. It's not a huge issue, so I'm just gonna message him.
All right. Well, we are live, by the way. So
Fair
for
enough.
those of you who are tuning in, we are just messing around with the technical stuff last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Garfy the Strange, and I'm here with Domino, Dave, Exalted. Keep forgetting what he calls
Whatever you want to
himself.
go with.
The man of many names.
Yes. Well, the whole thing with it is that I'm working on something. Right now, I was working on a thread for Deadpool because I was asked to cover him in detail, and I figured, let's get it out of the way now.
In fact, there were
But
like several other topics I was thinking before I stumbled upon this treasure trove. I mean, the
well,
monolith is moving around more lately. Uh,
fair.
there's more of
But
cancel culture going on, and I was gonna put my own intake on the whole Studio Foe versus, or not really Studio Foe versus Warhammer, but Studio Foe versus Warhammer. Arch Warhammer's fans at this Arch already forgave them. I mean, a lot has happened in the past weeks, especially directly after we stopped our previous. And as yesterday's stream been an indication, I think I may need to switch different streaming software because this is kind of cramping out on like saving the replays. Either that or was joining the drinking games along with us.
yeah. Well, we'll just have to do what we can at this point.
Yeah, I should try to get myself a new mic this.
You really should, Mike. Mike, you should get a new mic now. But let's get to the point of why we're here tonight.
Yes, we stopped at number 40 of Lily Orchard's tips for writers, and we're gonna go through most of the rest of these if possible. Oh boy.
We
And
were at 40 last night.
yeah, and how prophetic that she says is like don't argue with people, don't debate them, don't treat them with good face, just block them and get on with your day. Like don't bother with people for not caving into their demands, which is kind of bold words coming from someone who made 100 tips to complain about Shira.
Yes. It's kind of insane.
Oh jeez. Also, I think it's like one of the. I forgot to point out that one of the tips actually contradicted yet another one. It's like, don't don't worry about spoilers, but but talk about your stories online is not on Twitter is not the place to be. Ironically, those were the two things that we kind of agreed with.
Yep. Look, I would say that there are some good tips here and there, but not a lot. Honestly,
All right.
I'm. It's kind of just this
Well,
person.
anyways, move on. Let's get on to 3-1. Rape victims are not villains and should never be written as villains. Like Blizzard at Blizzard Ent, it costs $0 to not be a misogynist. Does that happen a lot with Blizzard? Uh,
Not really. I think maybe this. Honestly, no. It's look. I don't know how many. Maybe it's they're thinking Kerrigan or something. But I don't know. I haven't dug into deep Blizzard lore. I have no idea how many of this is. But honestly, it's I think it's fair to explore characters who experience trauma and don't handle it well, and maybe showing them that they can recover eventually. It's not a bad thing to do that as a story, but again, this is one of those things that has to be done very well, you know?
I don't ever raped. She just left for dead.
Yeah, it's special.
Even then, by the end of it all, she wasn't even portrayed as a villain. She was portrayed as a messiah.
Yep.
Uh, I yeah, this is a weird one just because she added Blizzard over this. Oh, and by the way, it's like
Y-
how many male characters can we think of that were actually rape victims, but were actually the main villains? There's like the main villain from Ace Ventura: Pet Detective 2 got raped by a gorilla. Then there was like Trading Places. I think one villain in there got raped by a gorilla while wearing a gorilla suit. And let's not forget Pulp Fiction. Marcellus Wallace,
Yeah. Oh
famous,
yeah.
the infamous GIMP scene. And and let's not forget about the crappy horror movie Extraterrestrials that involved a particular probing scene. Although I don't
Oh
think he
yeah.
was a villain, I think he was just an asshole. So, moving on to number 42.
Yes.
If straight men really hate certain characters but lesbians love them, there's a 90% chance that is your best character. Bullshit. Moving on.
Uh Simple. Catra.
Uh,
The one time the one time she's not complaining about Shira, it's no. Honestly, look, just because some characters are loved by a fan base doesn't make them good characters, and that's entirely up to the reader, you know?
I think she just wants to be antagonistic to straight people.
Yes.
That's the thing, and that's not a way to write your stories or your characters. Don't be a Kathleen Kennedy. Don't be a Neil Druckmann. Number
Yep.
43. If one of your writers believes Simon Unity Train was understood and Grace is the villain, bucket drink.
Yes. Okay, I actually got to talk about this one because this is actually a fascinating conversation to have. So let me talk about this in Infinity Train because I'll tell you what this whole thing is about. Weirdly enough.
Oh yeah, and fired immediately for thinking that one character is a misunderstood villain. Really? Really? You're gonna go that hard? Okay, get out the axe, guys.
So let me actually explain this whole thing, because so one of the main points in Infinity Train season 3 is that, and I think the show is good. It's just that it does have one problem. So Grace, uh, so so in Infinity Train, you go onto the train, and I would call the Infinity Train a type of redemption story. Something's wrong in your life, and you're supposed to learn a lesson from the train and bring your number down and get off. Basic idea, right?
Yeah.
Now, Grace instead decided to do bad things, so her number goes up. And she influenced another character into doing that, becoming evil. And honestly, yes, you can look at Grace as the villain in the story too. You can look at her as a type of redemptive anti-hero, but I would say it's one of those things. This is one of those gray plot details. Simon's not perfect or good or anything else, but this is a gray morality story. No one is looks good in this, and to act like Grace is a hero because you have the villain here, it's like, no, Grace is a villain too. She's a villain who learns, but and might become better. Simon doesn't, and that's kind of sad in a way. That's the tragedy of the story. But to act like Simon is completely like an unsympathetic person, he literally was a younger kid influenced by this older kid into becoming something terrible. It's like, look, you have so much choice sometimes, you know? Again, it's a dumb plot. It's very gray as fuck.
Yeah.
So,
Got to write for Lily Orchard and nobody else.
yeah.
For 44, the best solution to a love triangle is polyamory.
No. Honestly, you can't make every pollen.
You know what? I'd say a best solution to a love triangle is a goddamn harem. There.
Probably. Hey, Shem.
Hi,
Hello.
Shim. We're on
Hey, glad you could make it.
glad you warned
Glad
us
to
that
be
there
here.
was like a lot of these. So we're on number 45. You have a male character who actually shows respect and admiration for a woman, and some of your viewers call that character a simp. There's 90% chance you have a good character. Or you just
No,
have a simp.
you could just have a sim. Look,
Yeah. I just don't know what else to say. It's like, yeah, sometimes a simp is a simp.
Could always try not being one.
Oh boy. Number 46. Mary Sue is not a real criticism. Misogyny guarded.
no. Okay. Mary Sue is an actual legitimate criticism that was created for fan fiction writers. Now, just because it's a just because it's overused as hell doesn't mean it can't be used as a criticism, because it's meant to be criticizing a specific thing. It's just overused. Again,
I think male
it's like
power
why
fantasy
do
is a misandric term and not a real and not a real criticism and should always be disregarded. There you go. How about that one?
yeah, no. Uh, Shim, do you have any commentary?
What was that one?
If Mary Sue is not a real criticism, thinly veiled, misogyny always disregarded.
I mean, wouldn't that just be power fantasy? Basically, it's like
Exactly. It's power fantasy.
Yeah, it's just plain and simple. It's a legitimate criticism. It's just if he said like the term is overused, I would say okay. But if it's not but saying it's not a legit criticism is, I disagree.
Number 47, emotional vulnerability does not make a female character anti-feminist.
That's fair, I guess.
All
But
right.
look, like I said, we found something we agree with.
All
You
right.
don't like it?
Yeah, don't expect it to last.
Number 48, goblins are inherently anti-Semitic. What?
Oh, we're finally here.
What?
Remember when I said that thing about the Jews in the last episode? So, you want to know what? So, here's a story. You want to know how I learned about this thread?
Ow.
That.
God, this is a woman who just blasts through all the stereotypes, and then she says this.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Uh,
I'm not even drunk yet.
I'm telling you, like these are opinions. Most of these are like just like angry opinions about various cartoons that she doesn't like. Mostly Shira and like, I don't know what, like Voltron or whatever cartoons that came out recently. She's just mad that they're not ending the way she wants them, and thus made just a complete wine fest of a list of all the things that just pissed her off.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I
And
dread to think
she's
of
acting as if they're advice.
what she thinks of orcs now. Number 49. If your first thought when told about a bigoted trope, furry, your gays, goblins, etc., is to try to figure out how to spell, you're a huge turd. A point, and it's not that these tropes aren't done well; it's that they're done too much.
Yeah. Well, let me actually talk about the goblin thing just because how dumb it is. Sorry. Because I actually have commentary since I am Jewish.
Yeah.
So let me actually explain this. So goblins are a very common fantasy element among different cultures. While some have been used for anti-Semitic purposes on occasion, not all of them. Goblins are very common as a fantasy trope, and not all of them are also connected to the stereotype. If you have goblins in a setting, it's not necessarily anti-Semitic. I think this is also just complaining about the goblins in Harry Potter, since the idea is that they stand in for Jewish bankers, which is also a horrible stereotype too, but that's a whole other topic. But like again, in Harry Potter, they're mystical creatures. Goblins have certain traits, they're not necessarily Jew stand-ins. It really depends on the work and when it was made and for what intention. And this is whole thing of like, look, if you have goblins in work, I'm not going to assume it's anti-Semitic for one reason. Goblins are fucking everywhere in different cultures. It could be, but it could easily not.
Yeah, they just happen to like gold sometimes. I mean,
Well,
and
that's
even
like
then,
the
it gives you a
Western
fifty
depictions
fifty
of
on
goblins.
on the old school fairy tale trope goblins. I mean, sometimes they like gold, sometimes they just like eating things.
They're supposed to be a stand-in for gluttony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep, basically.
yeah, hence gobbling. In fact, there's even like goblin assassins called red caps. Always dip their caps in the blood of their enemies. That's why they're red caps. Fun little like goblin lore there. 50.
Mm-hmm.
Writing
Yep.
a relationship based on dynamic or trying to be a particular trope, i.e., enemies to lover, into a story is a bad decision.
Depends.
Yeah,
Look,
that ultimately depends.
here's the problem.
He really
What
hates
if
the
you're
enemies to
doing
lovers thing.
look, is look again. You know how I was like saying Shira.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get drink.
I'm sorry.
Ugh. This is going through this stuff is kind of driving me to this point. It's like that's the only way I'm gonna be able to enjoy this. 51. Vitriol does not immediately render criticism valid. If your tone likely something important. Really? Really? I wonder how she
Yeah,
takes criticism. All right, number 52. Your fandom will fight and argue. This is how people solve conflicts. It's better to let people fight it out than be complacent and beg people to stop fighting. Um, okay.
yeah.
That's not really a writing tip, so
No, it isn't.
that's
Yeah.
more on fandoms. That's not on writing.
You ever
This person
learn?
can't keep. This person can't even stay on topic for a lot of these.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think she's more of a, or like fandom tips, not writing tips.
Yeah, no. Like, here's the thing. My big issue also is, mhm,
What was your
yep.
big issue?
My big issue is that this doesn't actually give any good writing tips. Because here's the thing. One of my problems with this is it doesn't give tips for like writing for specific mediums or writing specific scenes. These are just story ideas that she finds bad.
I
And
get,
again, here's what I've always been told as a comic book fan: there are no bad characters, only bad writers.
I get the feeling that she doesn't really understand writing for anything other than like TV shows. That's about it. I mean, I think the anti-lore stuff is a dead giveaway. Like, read a book. They're nothing but lore. It's a book. It's defined as lore. But all right. Number 53. Related to the above, every headcanon is valid and should never leave your mouth. Want pedophiles and fascists in your fan? Because that's how you get pedo. The fuck?
And we're talking about fandoms and not the actual writing.
Oh yeah. Again. Look, at this point, guys, I think we should have a new drinking rule. Is it take a drink anytime it's about fandoms and not actual writing?
Gotcha. I mean, this is the same can as yesterday, so I'm probably gonna run out before we're by the end of it.
Oh, we definitely are. What's our next one?
54. Speaking out against abuse fetishists, pedophiles, and bigots in your fan base will be better in the long run than quiet and it might be exhausting to deal with, but it's better for everyone in the long run.
Yeah, honestly, I can't really disagree with this one here because look, if you actually do find somebody who you think is terrible, you have to be, at least be careful, but make sure you also have proof too. Like, don't just go randomly accusing people.
Yeah,
You know, like, look, if you actually do find like actual pedophiles, like, God, there's actually this one I know online, like, who is a groomer who gets called out and on regularly, and I can't really disagree with him from disagree with looking at the proof. So again, this is one of those ones that is agreeable, but it's like honestly one of the only ones I'm going to agree with.
I think this speaks all too much to her origins as a My Little Pony reviewer.
Yes. Oh yes.
So, moving on. 5. Fan service is a concept you never think about. Fans who need to be serviced are not actually fans. If you have fans, fans are already have fun doing it, and you don't need to pander to. I agree. Games
Yep.
Workshop, you already have fans. You do not need to give fan service to people who are not your fans. I.e., we don't need your female space.
Yep.
I.e., we don't need to take crappy advice from someone who doesn't know how to write properly.
Yep.
Number
So
56.
kind of makes the entire list completely pointless to read.
Yeah, it does. Number 56. The tendency for shipping dominate discourse is the biggest sign that your character and their relations are more satisfying than anything else. People didn't need to petition the fourth season of Kim Possible to see what happened with Draken or.
This is just why. Why are you so boring? Lily, why do you exist? Why do you exist to torment? Like, oh wow. Look at me complaining about Kim Possible. Oh god.
Oh, right,
Aren't
that
I
is a TV show. Drink.
You forgot Kim Possible was a TV show? Yeah, no, like honestly, this is just one of those things of just like
I don't watch kids shows, or at least I don't watch them
I
all
know.
the time.
Well, yeah.
Well, Kim Possible is actually a pretty entertaining show. I watched all of it and I loved it. Still do.
Honestly, I would recommend Kim Possible if you're an older fan. It's one of those shows that actually does hold up well.
Not to
A little
mention,
formulaic at times, but good.
there's more to a show than shipping. All right, guys.
Yeah. Well, you can tell what fandom she talks to all the time.
57. Complaints about much negativity, shouting, medicine. There's an overabundance of that means there are things about. People cannot be positive without things positive about.
Yeah.
You know what? I think Lovecraft Country kind of falls into this category.
Yeah.
All right. For 58. Do something bigoted and get yelled at for it. Listen to people yelling at you. Cancel culture isn't real. The rage and vitriol. You know what? Fuck you.
It is real.
It's
Uh,
real, and anyone who claims that you're a bigot, unless they have evidence, don't bother listening.
I,
Look,
yeah, you want to ask Studio Foe what happens? Address people who accuse. When you actually capitulate to people who accuse your colleagues of being bigoted.
yeah.
So yeah. 59. The quickest and easiest way to make yelling stop is to own up to your why you did a bad thing. Fix it and never repeat. Progressives are forgiving if bullshit.
You couldn't even finish the sentence after reading that.
Exactly. I know these assholes. Bullshit.
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
number 60. Forced diversity is a right wing dog whistle, not criticism.
Um, Depends. Really does.
Yeah, it does.
Because look, when you're asking like things, forcing creators to do things that they might not like, sometimes that does affect the creative process. You just have to look at like different things. Plus, here's the problem. Depending on the characters, if they're often put in as like kind of like we have to have them and not given that much thought else, that can literally affect the writing as well. You need to be careful with this idea, to be fair, but you definitely need to at least explore, hey, look, we need to make better minority characters, but you can't just force them into the plot. You have to really think of them and give them more to do.
Funny thing is, those
Otherwise,
people. Good.
you want to know who I think is a good example of something like that? I gotta say Finn from the new Star Wars film.
Okay.
And I'll say this on some level: I don't think he's forced diversity, but they literally give him nothing to do.
Yeah, he's really just neglected diversity.
Yeah, basically.
China
And
doesn't like him.
China doesn't like exactly.
yeah,
Oh man, I'm contemplating on
The
doing a
thing is,
China
like,
rant,
all
but
these
that'll be for another video.
about like lack of good diversity and lack of representation. The funny thing is, if you go to other countries where a lot of those other quote unquote minorities are more prominent, they do a better job at representing themselves than needing a bunch of Western Americans who don't know squat about them to represent them.
Exactly. Like, who killed Captain Alex? Greatest action
Yeah,
movie of
exactly.
all time.
yeah. It's one of the best things ever.
Yeah, hey! 61. Reclaim slurs are not universal, and as such should never be included for work. Must have seen
uh,
a Hololive then, during that
I
Lamar scene.
I hate saying this, but depending on the work and who's creating it, that really depends. You could be making points. I'm not like this is just again really just this like trying to basically say, hey, you have to write how I want you to write.
Iba. 62. Oppressed people fighting against their oppressors are not villains. No, I don't care if you are. Not all those who respond with violence, not all those who pretend nonviolence are right to do. Must
Hmm.
be must be an Antifa member there. But
Yeah. So,
well, even then, there was a Star Trek episode where it was a Star Trek Voyager episode where like all the holograms led a revolution and pretty much started attacking other ships to quote unquote liberate other holograms.
hmm
So yes, you can have villains fighting against like who start off as people fighting against their oppressors and then taking it too far. Been done. Then again, I don't think she watches old Star Trek. Number 63. Related to above, good spin on the heroes who never kill mantra to highlight how to for refusing to kill a villain who later on to kill more innocent responsible for those deaths. There's a free story theme for you, and one we will never use.
yeah, basically.
Oh, gee. Yeah. Again, it's a Batman argument all over again.
Yes.
And also, Vash the Stampede argument. Think about it if you want to take it into anime. I mean, if you believe that the whole, like, heroes who never kill mantra is all about, like, doing the greater good for more innocent people, then you are missing the point of it all. Not about, like, protecting the innocent. It's about protecting the soul of the main protagonist. Force his hand into killing a person, pretty much destroy everything he once was, and it traumatizes him for life. See this in Trigun, by the way. It, it, it's not about the whole protecting innocence. Not all the time. Sometimes it's about the character. Sometimes it's protecting the innocence of the character.
Yep.
4. You're writing a fantasy and you have no issue having dragons in your world, but suddenly think people of color are unrealistic because something medieval Europe. You're a huge and an idiot. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah,
You know
this
what?
is just gonna.
Why don't we have African mythology in our fantasy world? How about that?
Yeah, no.
Not to mention, we have like Mesoamerican mythologies too.
Uh-huh.
Like, couldn't we have like a Quetzalcoatl looking motherfucker fighting off dinosaurs? Uh,
Yeah, no. Honestly, there's a lot of great ones. Alex here is working on one with Korean mythology.
oh yeah. And by the way, name a Japanese fantasy world that has a bunch of black dudes, white dudes in it.
Oh Jesus! Like honestly, there's also a good case for like uh, what's it called? Um,
Of course, she's never gonna make that argument. More anti-European than she's anti anything else.
pretty much.
Oh yeah. You know, there is a plausible way of getting a black person. Bring a Saracen into King Arthur's court. There you go. But yeah. 65. Sexual tension and chemistry are not the only indicators of a potential relationship. And in a relationship, quickest way to fade. All right, I'll give her that.
Mm, yeah. Okay.
6. The best potential romantic partner for a character is her best friend.
No. Didn't you already say this?
Yeah, she keeps repeating that all the time.
Then I think. Uh, then I think we're just gonna strike this list, Lily, because fuck you.
Hey,
Jesus
Lily,
Christ.
have you been fucking your best friend? Is that what it is?
No, Lily hasn't been fucking her best friend and it's driving her up the wall.
Well, that's probably because your best friends because you've been friend zoned.
Hmm.
7. I don't want X character to be defined by her philosophy to have everyone is defined by their religion. That's how human beings work. That is the most non-human thing I've ever heard. And also bigoted against humans. Man, kind of kind of eldritch abomination are you? Human beings are actually define them far more with their experiences, not with their relation.
Hmm. Yeah, like with humans, you can, have so much more to them. There's this really great, like, silent comic that is about a guy who tries to chase after a heroine, who he thinks been kidnapped, and goes through all these amazing adventures, and realizes that it made him a better person when he catches up and realizes she wasn't kidnapped at all. And he's not sad that he doesn't get with her. Instead, he's proud of the journey he took and just leaves and goes off on another adventure. And that's kind
Very
of
good.
like such a cool story. And it was just told through entirely through images.
Oh yeah. And 8.
Mm,
If you don't want a character only remembered for a romantic subplot, don't end that subplot. Give it time to sink. A memorable moment will last moment. Obviously, you have a very short attention span.
yeah, no.
Number 9. Slow burn does not mean taking forever to get together. means full series, long romantic subplots. The romance. Getting together with start of a romantic subplot, not the end. Lay off the romance novels. Start. Number 70, Sexual Awakening, not a real character.
Depends on the story. Like
Goodbye, Elsa.
I hate saying this, but sexual awakening can often lead often a story arc because it can lead to interesting questions about the person. But
Number 71. The only people who think boob armor makes sense are people who have never touched a boob. And the only people who don't think boob armor makes sense don't even have boobs.
mhm.
Number 72. The bow and arrow are strength weapons, not dexterity weapons. Female characters who do archery should naturally be strong. Long bows draw weight about 150 pounds. Rangers are always stronger than warriors. Why is she calling out image and all of that? By the way, I think Strativersity already covered something like this. I agree. They are strength weapons. There should be a strength requirement. I'm tired of seeing RPGs like uh showing no strength requirement for like huge longbows and everything.
Mhm.
But the dexterity part is really just the aiming. So if anything, want your stereotypical female, like lithe, thin, very, very figure-ish female characters with no musculature using a ranged weapon, like a musket or something. Also, female characters who do archery should also be cutting, what is it, their left tit or right tit off, as per professional female archers. Because I heard of professional female archers that are willing to have, like, slice their boob off just so that they can, like, make the draw pull.
Yeah, that's why I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you really want a female longbow, then there you go. 73. The best way to avoid tokenism is multiple characters. Or just a deeper character. Yeah, let's just throw more black people in the story. That'll solve the problem. Then you. It's gotta be really funny if someone takes that advice and all of these characters act like token characters.
Mhm. Well, we have to write cooking characters sometimes. Darn it.
Want an easy way to become more accustomed to diverse casts? Limit your straight white characters to one of each. Those
No,
through.
you can make as many characters of anything as you want. Because here's the truth: you might be exploring different communities that have a lot of one thing, so that's actually fair enough. So it's like, I hate this so much. It's just write what I want you to write.
Yeah.
Let's go.
75. Don't be afraid of failure and backlash. If someone is screaming at you about how your character made racist, that is literally writing advice that someone
No,
is just. Uh,
this was half good. Half.
you're going fine up until you got to like someone screaming at you. So yeah, I am going to refer to Rule 40. Just block them. If people are yelling at you because you didn't cave to their demands, just block them. Number 76. People of color and LGBTA people are allowed to just exist. Don't feel like you have to cover bigotry just because they're in the story. In fact, people will be happier if you don't, because having these characters defined by suffering itself a tired trope.
No, like, look.
Well, there goes Lovecraft Country. Anything you wanted to say, Dave?
Well, here's the thing with characters defined by tragedy. You can make canon characters however you want. Some characters are going to be defined by tragedy, and some characters are going to be defined by nothing, and some characters are going to be defined by good moments. There are so many different types of characters. Saying that like this is a tired trope is kind of insane. Because you're also forgetting that some people's have entire lives defined by one moment. Like, look at military people and how sometimes their lives are defined by that one time they failed. Like, this is not an unusual thing. You're literally now just denying human life having an effect on stories, or telling stories that can be about like people healing from trauma.
All right.
I think that was actually fair. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-huh.
Number 77. I just want my readers to have fun is an excellent attitude when it comes to storytelling. Okay. So yeah, don't cramp out on anyone else's fun then. 78. General rule, slice of life has always been more popular than action adventure. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
79. Feature creep is a problem in storytelling as well. By the way, in reference to 78, how many grand epics from the ancient world have lasted to modern day that have been adventure stories, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, Epic of Gilgamesh, The Odyssey, Arabian Nights, motherfuckers. Alright, 79. Feature creep is a problem in storytelling as well. You don't have to cram every idea, reference, and homage you can think of into a story. You can save your ideas for another time. Agreed, make it episodic. Deal with a different problem each story. What's it?
Oh, Shin might be back because he's been kind of silent because he's been having audio issues, but he might have fixed it. So we might see him soon.
Oh, good. I was starting to wonder about that guy. I wasn't
Yeah,
really.
nope, I didn't mention it because I didn't want listeners to worry.
Uh, he hasn't been devoured into the void yet.
Yes.
Or he has, and he's coming back. 80. D&D alignments are a terrible metric for character design. They're meant for a quick reference for improvisation, RPG environment, and shouldn't be taken outside that environment. Um, okay, I can kind of get that. I mean, you, you gotta make your characters deeper than just the simple alignments.
Yeah,
81.
that's baseline advice. That's like a given.
I'll let you
81.
talk.
When writing LGBTQ characters, stay as far away from the Rocky Horror Picture Show as possible as you possibly can. Holy shit!
Well, I'm gonna let you handle this entirely by yourself, Mike.
Some gay people hold it up as a meaningful part of our culture. Yeah, for a reason. It's not. It's trans transmissionistic nightmare made by an actual turf, not reference guide to anything. Oh boy. Goodbye, Rocky Horror community. Yeah. Have you ever been to a Rocky Horror Shadowcast in your entire life? Have you ever talked to these people? almost all of them are the rainbow ball. Almost all of them, or at least they're really big allies to them. They really love this shit. This is their Rocky Horror has been their escapism, especially if they grew up in a very like strict conservative environment that doesn't take too kindly to the rainbow people. You guys escaped to Rocky Horror Picture Show and you are throwing that shit under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible, insensitive creature. Holy shit. I mean, good God.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Do you think you continue on a bit more, or do you think you should stop?
We're
I,
almost done.
you freaking nightmares. Yeah, of course it's a nightmare. It's a parody of horror movies. That's one of the things I like about it, and it's also very humoristic. You're not even supposed to be taking this very all that seriously. I mean, some like transphobic jokes there. That's because these trans people are able to laugh at themselves, which obviously you can't. Have a sense of humor for once in your life.
That's impossible, dude. It's 2020. You're not allowed to have fun or jokes anymore.
Oh well, she's already breaking one of her previous rules. It's like, yeah, number 77. I just want my readers and viewers to have fun, and that's exactly
No,
Rocky
no,
Horror.
that can't be allowed. That's 2020. Breaking your own rules. Can't do that.
And
I'm not even part of the rainbow community, and I am just angry on their behalf over that last one. But yeah, they could fight their own battles, so I'll let them have at her. The Q slur is a concept tactically reinforce heteronormativity by casting LGBT the rainbow people as inherently strange. In no big deal representation, the word should be employed or normalizing the people as the Qs are like oil and water. They don't go together. Oh my god. I guess you're gonna have to drop the Q from the L. Uh, number rape, an unforgivable crime, more than killing, potentially justified in a story without becoming an oct. I have to reference the male characters who have been raped in lines, or even
yeah,
prison rapes.
yep.
Yeah, I know. Number 84. Sex scenes are never necessary. Oh, there goes BioWare. Want to include one because you're horny. Then more power to you. But any attempt to justify it as important story will only be laughed at. Yeah, sorry BioWare fans. Hates game.
I mean,
85.
let's be real. BioWare hasn't made any real good games as of late, so
That is true. Oh, by the way, that include gay sex scenes there.
obviously not. Rules
No.
for thee, but not for me.
85. Strong characters can still cry and need support from others. Vulnerability, not a character flaw. Agreed.
Yeah, that's fine. Vulnerability is not a character flaw. It's like I said, these some we found a good tip after so long.
86. Peak, a fancy
Yeah.
way of saying addiction fueled misery porn. What kind of TV have you been watching?
Yeah.
Mostly just terrible fan fictions that got transformed into television shows.
On 87. Addiction based storytelling relies on sterilization cliffhangers, shocking twists, constantly raised stakes, and obsession with foreshadowing to watch, not because they're enjoying themselves, because they're stuck on attention high. Sort of, kind of. I mean, I could kind of understand that part. I've seen TV shows that are kind of like that, where nothing substantial gets done, and and people keep watching it anyways because, oh, I got to see what happens next. I've broken out of many TV shows that continually. Oh yeah, 7 part 2. What the fuck? It's not even another tip. She just added a part 2 to it.
I'm telling you, man, it's rules for thee, but not for me.
Fuck it, drink. Just on that alone.
Yeah, let's all just drink together.
By the end, the viewer is only watching for closure because they've already invested so much that they need their fix in order to feel like it was worth it. This is the same business model as soap operas. Yeah, and this is why people actually watched Game of Thrones. And I'm like, pretty much the reason why I stopped watching it.
Yeah.
Why I didn't
Really?
watch the Star Wars full trilogies all the way. I mean, even after the leaks of the final season of Game of Thrones, people still watched it because it's like
Oh, that was a mistake.
yeah. I'm like, because they feel like it's like, oh, I've already watched this. Watch it to the. Even I'm guilty of that. I mean, I got all 3 of StarCraft 2 just to finish it, and after that, I vowed never to play another Blizzard game ever again.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I can't argue with you on that one. I have barely played a Blizzard game, so
88. If sunk cost fallacy didn't exist, shows like Stephen Universe and Drink Game of Thrones would have
yep.
been canceled by season 2. And you know what? Fuck it, I agree. Pickwick Papers is the OG opera. Charles Dickens sold the same audience 3 times. Yeah, thanks, Phil. And hardcore fans will tell you that continuity is the most important thing. They're wrong.
Mm.
You know,
Depends on how the story is.
I'm going to actually say this about continuity here because here's the problem. Continuity isn't always the most important thing, but I'm just going to be honest. You should try to stick to it for one reason: consistency. Because guess what? Plot holes are a thing. And you want to, and here's the and those take readers out of the experience. You want to limit that. You don't want your readers to think, "Oh, I can't I can't think this through." Or I don't like this. Oh, that does not make sense with the rules you establish. You really have to be careful of it. Now, I don't think you should stick so hardcore to continuity you are absolutely rigid on everything. But continuity is meant to help you be a guide. And honestly, writers often write better stories from challenge. Imagine, and sometimes, like, I've read some really stories that use hardcore continuity to its advantage rather than its disadvantage. The truth is that if you didn't rely on continuity, you want to know what would happen? No book would make sense from page to page.
at
You
that
know?
point, at that
Yeah.
point, you don't even have a universe.
Yeah, basically.
All right. Uh, 90. This is too political. It's a complaint only made by conservatives. What the fuck? By
This is a
conservatives
complaint made by
when
everyone.
or acknowledges non-white, non-straight books. Ah. she's just bitching about conservatives. Moving on. 91. The Little Mermaid and Cinderella are more feminist than Beauty and the Beast. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Depends on which version she's talking about. I'm gonna go off and think that she's thinking the Disney versions, but nah, that's arguable.
Even then.
Yeah.
Even then.
And I would know. I'm a diehard Disney fan.
Little Mermaid, I mean, this kind of deformed herself and gave up her voice for a guy who ultimately almost went with another woman.
Yeah, that Ariel has gotten a lot of hate from people. Honestly, I think it's overblown way too much.
It's just wow. Not to mention, Beast. I mean, Belle. It took a woman to make the Beast a better person. Isn't that driving home the message that you should listen to women more often?
Yeah, and it's also about beauty's only skin deep. It's what's on the inside that matters, not the outside. Blah blah blah. Basic level morality for a lot of these old fairy tale stories.
Oh, well, no wonder she doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand basic level. 92. If you want to know when to change trans character pronouns in the narration, so at the moment they realize who they are and admit it to themselves aloud. Chef's kiss? What does that even mean, chef's kiss?
Chef's kiss. It's perfect. Chef's kiss.
Oh. All right. That's how you gotta do it. Sure. 93. As long as it harmful or bigot, don't have to justify story made of basis self-indulgence. Um. Uh, I don't know. I don't know about this one. This sounds like a justification for like the very auteur artists write things for their own sake.
Again, like I said, these are opinions, not facts.
I
Yep.
mean, if you write yourself as a self-insert character as a big Mary Sue, I mean, wouldn't that need a justification? Or can you just do that willy-nilly and expect no criticism?
If you create anything, you should expect criticism from anyone.
Yeah. Vampires, werewolves are not inherent. You know what? If this turns into a Twilight thing, I am going to down the whole bottle. Vampires, werewolves are not
Well, we're almost done, man. Let's bring her on.
Are not LGBTA coded. And doing so is an example of othering. They work better as metaphors for aristocracy predators, respectively, than than as the underclass. Sort of agree, but even then, there are exceptions. I mean, werewolves especially. Werewolves are basically a metaphor for just guys who just spontaneously snap and go nuts for no discernible reason. I mean, and they could be anyone, really. Aristocracy, or just your usual farm boy, or just the odd woodsman with the strange callous hands. I mean, they could be like your average serial killers. I mean, that's pretty much what werewolves were back in the day for mythology. Vampires, I mean, which vampire are you talking about? Are you talking about like the noble vampire who lives in his castle up in Transylvania? Or are you talking about the Nosferatu vampires who just live in the shadows? Or just really just the outcast of society because it basically preys upon people. They're different kinds.
Yeah, there's too many variables to determine what kind you're talking about. But I'm going to guess that this is meaning like specifically American, very westernized versions of these creatures than any other ones.
Mhm.
And by the way, this is how you view monsters. That means zombies have to be aristocracy? Because back then, zombies were more or less the underclass. But yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, these rules, these advice make no sense most of the time.
95. Some of the best stories ever made are written as an act of spite. Bullshit. I
Yeah,
wonder,
I'm going to disagree.
yeah, did Aesop write all his fables as an act of spite?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna write this story about a fox who he tries to eat grapes and doesn't get it, so he gets super salty just because that one guy didn't give me, the grapes I wanted. Yeah, that'll show him.
Oh boy. Yeah, again, maybe she's talking about the Bible. After all, God is a very spiteful person nowadays.
God. What if God was one of us? Wrote a
Jeez.
Twitter to make a list. I don't know. This is
This
hard.
this is just bitching about like things that she clearly does not agree with, and just uses whatever excuse she can to say like, "Oh yeah, this is writing criticism or this is writing advice." This is bullshit at best.
96. Any system of government, with the exception of fascism, can exist in a positive or negative context. Monarchies are not always inherently Hawaii pre-annexation, and democracies are not always inherently good. See, fuck it. Moving on. Otherwise, I'm gonna go on a freaking USA, bitch. USA, motherfucker. Salute. 97. Lesbians still on a good terms with an ex-boyfriend from before coming out. It's really cute friendship trope, and vice versa.
Ah,
Oddly specific there.
yeah, oddly specific. Also, I can think of some fans who are come from various backgrounds who would definitely disagree with that.
Eh. 98. We're almost done, by the way, guys.
I
Yep.
could tell this list is hurting you.
Yeah.
We are so almost done. Bring it home.
The only real difference between extremely close platonic relationship and romantic relationship is what the people involved choose to call it. Best friends are not something that should ever be fixed with just.
No.
What is he
Yeah,
trying to say? Like what's he trying to say? I'm not able to follow most of this.
I think she just wants to fuck her friend again.
Yes.
Mad that she's been friend zoned.
Yep.
Really? That's it?
Hey, that's my theory. Going on about how friends should get together in a relationship.
Well, yeah, you're already in a relationship. It's called being friends. Like it's not that hard.
I mean, you can have fuck buddies. I mean, if you really want to.
I don't know why anyone would want to at this point.
Yeah.
Since everyone can just like turn against you and just immediately point fingers and no one will bother to look into it.
All right. Normalize friends saying "I love you" to each other.
That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
In Greek, the ancient Greeks have been doing it for like centuries. In the Greek language, there's like 4 variants of the word love, and one is like platonic love between friends, another one's between family, another one's between lovers, and another one is just turns to like another person, and that you just care about them. So, it's like we already have stuff like that. This is not revolutionary.
All right, number 100.
All right,
Finally,
finally here.
if you write 100-tweet-long thread of writing advice, you have much free time on your hands. Get back to work and be productive with your time.
Yeah, take your own advice. So at least stop making these bullcrap lists and actually improve your writing.
She can't. She doesn't know how. Jokes aside.
She just covered her ass with 101. Tips and
Yeah.
rules are 2 different words.
This must have been a chore for you guys to go through.
You have no idea.
Holy shit, dude.
This is my second time going through this.
There were 100 of them. 100, not just 100, 101. 101 Dalmatians, guys. We went through 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, except the 101 Dalmatians book was actually good.
Yeah. Oh, Lily, do not write 101 Dalmatians.
In fact, just don't write anything that in the future, don't write anything with any of these like negative tidbits on this list, because then you just be going against your own advice and ruining your own list.
Holy.
Hmm.
This is obsessive. Way obsessed. And yeah, it's like, I get like throughout a lot of it, she's just very, very much against stereotypes. I sort of get. But holy shit, dude.
Could have portrayed that better.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's like there are like a few other alternative topics I could have done, but I decided to do this because I figured, you know what, this would be a fun thing to rip into.
Oh no, I could have told you that it would not have been fun from the beginning.
It's just,
I could have told you, but I decided not to.
oh jeez, I need more drinks. But oh yeah, in fact, my brother suggested that like maybe sometime later we should also take turns reading. I think it was called The Eye of Argon.
What
Just
is
as
the Eye of Argon?
I think someone made a game of it where you have
Oh,
to take turns reading it with a straight face.
oh god.
It's like one of those fan fictions that are that bad. I'll look it
Oh,
up.
it's a fan fiction.
I mean, I think it
That's
might be
all I
on
need
the
to know.
level of like,
My Immortal.
yeah, on the level of My Immortal.
That
But
explains everything.
yeah, described
Yeah.
as the worst fantasy novella ever.
Good
Mhm.
god. That's quite a claim.
Yeah, assuming I could see without the
Oh,
ads getting in my face. Why the hell did I use Firefox to look brave? That one had an ad blocker. But reading it raw caused brain damage. You may set up our MSD D version. Yeah. So yeah, I might consider that for maybe a future topic, maybe a future special. But yeah, this, ladies and gentlemen, you have been through this whole stream twice. Thank you for being here with us. You have no idea how much of a pain it was to get through all of that. maintain our sanity. I had to be drunk last stream in order to get through that.
Yeah, this was special. Look, it felt like I was going through She-Ra again, and I already went through that. Like, oh, God, fuck She-Ra. That show was terrible.
So yeah. Any other final thoughts?
You
Don't take writing advice from a hack.
don't. These aren't tips, rules, or anything. Look, these are pet peeves.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it. You can probably be a better writer by just doing. Oh, here's actually a good tip for writing. Actually, write.
Exactly. Just right. So, with that, been Scarfy the Strange, Exalted Blue, and AJ Shim. Always remember, just right.
Mm-hmm.